What's going on, family? Peace and love, peace and balance, peace and prosperity. Shalom, shalom, everybody who's logging in. I'm just sharing it right now. We're gonna wait till a few more people come in and we're gonna get started. Welcome, 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 welcome. Change something around real quick. We'll get started in a few. We just wait for some more people to come in. Welcome everybody tuning in. Please make sure you click like and subscribe. Please share as well if you know anybody who's want to learn about health. It may have a chronic illness or acute illness, dealing with any type of disease. This is definitely something you want to share with them. Make sure y'all share it. What's going on, family? Peace and love, peace and love. Welcome, 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 welcome. I know some of y'all are used to me doing the Instagram live. We have been doing it for the past few months, and then we took a break due to traveling, and we had a seminar we had to do, and we were just getting some things back in order. And so now I really want to start transitioning you all to the YouTube channel, just because I want to be able to show you all sources. I want to be able to show you all presentations, because let's be honest, sometimes we need a pictorial perspective or a pictorial view to see what a person is talking about, because everybody can't just sit through words alone or somebody speaking alone. And pictures just help stimulate the mind and show a broader view of what a person is talking about. So I wanted to make sure that we started doing this on YouTube. So please make sure y'all share, like, and subscribe, hit the bell, make sure that you share it to your family and friends, especially those who are dealing with acute and chronic diseases of the body. And again, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to actually call this Mike Monday. So welcome to Mike Mondays. This is your herbalist, your dietitian, your nutritionist. We call it a detoxification coach, Mikael Ben Or of the Edenic experience. Welcome, 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 family. So we're about to get started. Today, we're actually going to be talking about cellular functionality. We've been given a very, we've been given a very skewed perspective of health. We've been given a very skewed perspective of science. We've been given a very skewed perspective of biochemistry, and even been given a skewed perspective of food. And because of that skewed perspective, that ideology, philosophy, and way of life, it has caused a major, major pandemic of diseases rising in the melanated Black community. And when you look at the root of it is because we are misinformed or disinformed. And we don't realize that a lot of the perspective, a lot of the knowledge, a lot of the understanding that has been passed down to us through programming, through chattel slavery, has been from a Eurocentric perspective that does not fit the narrative, the biochemistry, and the molecular structure of the melanated man and woman of the earth. And because we have taken on the Eurocentric philosophy of food, health, wealth, and science, it has put us in a detriment of disease, and to some degree cannot even be explained to us properly. I have so many clients when they go get a checkup, so they trying to figure out what's going on with them, that doctors are just coming back and now not even being able to tell them the fullness of what's going on. I've realized in my experience in the health field that there's even doctors who don't even properly know how to read a CBC chart. Don't know what that is. That's a blood count chart. When you read your blood levels, your RBCs, your WBCs, your hemoglobins, things of that nature. And based upon that, you're actually able to at least tell or get a glimpse of what may be going on in the body, especially when you see your RBCs is low and your WBCs is high. That's a sign that there's a disease seeping in. That's a sign of what they call a so-called infection. Especially when your WBCs is high, that means your white blood cells is arising because they are alerted that there's some type of dysfunctional acidic form of disease going on in the body, which caused the RBCs, which is your red blood cell count, to be dysfunctional. And these are just things I'm realizing that some doctors, because they're following the protocol and the blueprint and program of the pharmaceutical companies, that they don't even know how to properly read their own charts. It's so deep that you will see that there's even different readings based upon the counties and based upon the regions. And this is why we must study our self-approved. This is why we have to understand, overstand, and understand our cellular molecular structure, because we're dealing with a people that charts don't even match depending on the state, county, and region. You see what I mean? So even as the scriptures say, 2 or 3 witnesses establishes a matter. You cannot always go off the first reading of one particular hospital or physician office. I always tell my clients, just to make sure, go to about 2 or 3 more just to double check to see if that's the actual result. Because we've had experiences where one doctor says one thing and another doctor's test says a whole other thing, which tells you off the rip that their tests are not accurate. And they're not even reading the same. And that's the biggest problem with us as melanated people. And don't get me wrong, this is not just for melanated people. My primary focus is our people, but I am here for everybody who needs healing. But even for those who may not be melanated, whether you be Arab, whether it be European, whether it be Asian, we all need to know the science of our own biochemical molecular structure, because we are all made differently. You do not see a tiger and a lion having an exact same diet, yet they're cats. They're cats. They're from the same type of bloodline. They're from the same type of species, but they have different diets. When you look at the fowls of the air, the beasts of the field, every beast and every fowl do not have the same diet based upon the geographical location and the region of that bird or of that beast, it will change. So how when it comes to humanoids, how when it comes to human beings, mankind, that somehow, some way, we all become the same type of human because we bleed the same. We don't have the same skull structure. We don't have the same lip or eye structure. We don't have the same physiology. We don't have the same blood type. We do not have the same DNA. Huh? We have one that is regenerative DNA. We have another one that's just degenerative. So it's foolish of us to go based upon the test of a people whose basis of science is based upon a 45-year-old Caucasian man. It does not make any sense. So what this channel will be here for is to cultivate or culturally activate divine education. We're here to educate. And the whole purpose of educate, as Dr. Amos Wilson would say, is to problem solve for people. And we have a lot of problems that need to be solved in the community, from the way we view family, from the way we view marriage, from the way we view love, from the way we view food, from the way we view education, from the way we view success. All of our perspective has been skewed and corrupt, and it's not based upon, if I'm using this in a broad term, because even when you go into Africa or you go back to the ancient Aboriginal lands, there's many different tribes that have different perspectives. But the point is, even when you go into all these different tribes, they all had a common denominator of a way of thinking and a way of life. And even in that common denominator, whether you want to subscribe to the Aboriginal tribes of America or the ancient tribes of Africa, we don't even live based upon those common denominators within those ancient tribes. So we are totally and utterly removed from the sciences, mathematics, education, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of our people. And that's exactly what this channel will be used for, is to re-educate and help you remember who you are, why you are, and what you are. Because the reality is trying to be anybody else except ourselves is causing a demise upon our people and causing a dis-ease to rise within our community based upon the miseducation and misappropriation of information. So with that being said, let's get started. Again, make sure y'all click like and subscribe to the channel. This is KTV Podcast. I am Mikael Ben-Or, your herbalist, your brother, your servant, your dietitian, and your nutrition. And this is Mike Monday. So please make sure that you all subscribe, like, and comment, and we will continue. So let's get started. I'm just going to make sure my screen is being shared. Just going to double check, make sure my screen being shared. Screen being shared. Okay. I see we clear when y'all good to go. So what you see up here is break it down in different compartments or different components of the body. A lot of us think very outwardly. A lot of us function very outwardly. A lot of us function very externally, and not knowing that it is the internal expression that we see from an external reflection. So if we do not understand the internal, for sure we're not going to be able to synthesize or understand the external. Even down to our reality would be very corrupt and very skewed because our hormonal balance is very imbalanced when it comes to the body and its molecular structure. And that's because we're not eating based upon our biochemical makeup. We're not eating based upon our geographical location, where that geographical location yielded the food that will keep us in harmony with our environment. See, environment is everything. You have an external environment and then you have an internal environment. Just like you have two wombs. You have the womb of your stomach, and obviously that's for female, but then you have the womb in your mind. Just like you have soil. You can look at your stomach as soil, and you can look at your mind as soil. In each environmental structure, there must be seed planted so that you can grow. So something that can grow. And what grows is like a tree. And when it starts to grow, it will yield its fruit. And that fruit will start to bear. It will either bear with blemish or have unblemished. It will either be ripened or will be unripened. Either be toxic or it will be able to be eaten off of. And that's the same concept when it comes to ideas, when it comes to information, when it comes to mentality, when it comes to music. All these things that we ingest or consume externally plays as a seed internally. And this is why we must understand the rhythmatic function of our intercellular components, because based upon that intercellular components will tell us what we truly need to feed the soul, what we truly need to feed our cells, what we truly need to feed our tissues, what we truly need to feed our organs, what we truly need to feed our systems, because based upon that will determine what we need to feed our cells or our cells. So I hope y'all got that. So let's get it. So cells. At the root of cells, you have atoms, right? So atoms make up cells. Cells make up tissues. Tissues make up organs. And organs make up systems. And these systems, which are these 12 systems, or really I like to say 13, because I would truly like to consider the mucosal membrane as another system within itself. That's from my understanding, that's my opinion, based upon what I see in its function. Even before you see the lymphatic system playing, it's the mucosal membrane that will react to foreign invaders. And it will help alert the lymphatic system and the lymph nodes to let them know that something is going on. So I personally, this is my opinion, this is from my understanding, my studies, I look at the mucosal membrane itself as a system. So when we look at it again, cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up systems, systems make up you. Now, when we break this down, it says a community of biochemical organisms created to function and yield energetic vibrations for you to live. I'm going to say that again. When you break down on a molecular structure, on a microcosmic structure, this is a community of biochemical organisms created to function and yield energetic vibration for you to live, meaning your cells live off charges, which we'll go over. Your cells live off hertz, or what you call frequencies, which we will go over. So if it lives off frequencies, if it lives off charges, if it lives off vibration, seeing that it also floats in liquid, which we know liquid holds a lot of vibration, that means we would have to understand our cells more so than our cells, because it is our cells that are componentized, or it's put together by 150 trillion cells. It's put together by 150 trillion cells. So if that means that you, this one person, that you look at yourself, you see one body, but just as Elder Dr. James Small has said, right? He said, when you look at my hand, you just see one hand. You don't see all these different tissues. You don't see all these different cells that are working together to make this one hand. And that's exactly you on a macro level. You see one body, but this body is made up of many different systems based upon many different organs. And these many different organs is created based upon many different functions of tissues. And this tissues and this functionality is based on 150 trillion cells. So it would behoove us, if this is the case, it is best for us to know more about ourselves than ourselves. Because based upon ourselves, we will know thyself. Y'all get me? Based upon ourselves, we will know ourselves. Based upon ourselves, we will know what to eat. Based upon ourselves, we will know how to sleep. Based upon ourselves, we will know what to drink. Based upon ourselves, we will know what to consume. Based upon ourselves, we will know how much to eat. See, ourselves will tell us everything we need to know about self, so that we, while we're living in this human experience, can function in spirit and in truth, or spirit and in body, properly. Because the reality is, everything we consume shapings and creates our reality, or what we're going to call environment. What we're going to call environment. So again, make sure y'all click like and subscribe. And we're going to keep going. Now, again, if I want to know myself, I have to know my sales. If I want to know if y'all see me kind of looking back and forth because I'm making sure the screen, I'm making sure the screen is up. I know sometimes it's delayed. So if I want to know myself, I must know my sales. And if I know my sales, I would know thyself. So let's get into the structure of the sales. Let's get into the functionality of the sales, right? So just like you have 150 trillion sales. You have 150 trillion use. You have 150 trillion cells. And just like you have organs, you have skeletal structures, you have blood vessels, you have a cleaning system or a waste system, or what we're going to call your lymphatic or what they call immune system, right? And all of these play a major part when it comes to your functionality. But there's no possible way that if that's how you function, that your cells wouldn't function the same exact way, which we'll get into. So when you look at the cell, we're going to start at the top and we're going to work our way around. So let's start at cytoskeleton, right? Cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton supports organelles and cell shapes and plays a role in cell motion. So just like you have a skeletal structure or you have bone structures, that means your cells also have skeletal structures and they have bone structures, which means and this is how we start to learn it. If that's the case, just like your bones need what? Calcium and potassium. If your cells also have skeletal structures or bone structures, which help reproduce red blood cells and help make sure that the blood keeps its integrity, or the liquid keeps its integrity that feeds the other cell organelles or cell organs, that means that we have now cracked one code that if just like my bones needs potassium and calcium to be strong, and for it to produce more cellular blood vessels, or help support cellular organelles, I need potassium and calcium. So now we got two minerals that we know for a fact that we need to consume: potassium and calcium. Make sure y'all write that down. Make sure I write that down. Right, so when you go to the microtubules and the intermediate filament and the active filament, these are what that help assist in the support of your organelles, help shape and play a role in your cell motion. Just making sure everything is growing properly and expanding properly and moving properly. Next, we have the centriole, which is a complex assembly of microtubules that occurs in pairs. Right? Let me make sure this up because I'm getting some blank over here. Can y'all see my screen? I want to just make sure. Can y'all see my screen? Okay, it looked like it's up. All right, cool. I want to make sure y'all can see. So these centrioles comparison, they help actually structure the cellular organelles. So they assist the cytoskeleton. Next, we have the cytoplasm, in which you see that fluid. Do y'all see that fluid? I wish I had a little, let me see if I can pull it. I wish I had a little point on here, but if you see, it says the semi-fluid matrix that contains the nucleus and other organelles. So when you look at the cytoplasm, it almost plays like blood. You know, your blood holds the blood vessels. Your blood holds the red blood cells. It's pretty much that because you got your lymph fluid, you got your blood, right? And obviously, you got the water that flows into you too. So this cytoplasm plays pretty much this liquid substance that help pretty much keep everything contained and together. right? So it's cytoplasm, semi-fluid matrix that contains the nucleus and other organelles. So just like you have organs that floats in liquids, like your blood, like your lymph liquid, like the water within you, your cells also have water. So that means, pay attention, y'all. If you have fluid in your cells, right, that play as water or play as blood, which both contain a certain mineral. It contains a certain element that it needs to survive, right? And what's the elemental acronyms of water? H2O. H2O. What's the main mineral that the cells need? Oxygen. Well, isn't oxygen in H2O, 2 hydrogens, and 1 oxygen? Which we'll go further and see that we need something called H3O2 to get the highest level, the most vibrant level of water or oxygenated substance. So now we not only cracked it with cytoskeleton, needing potassium and calcium, but now going to the cytoplasm, which is the fluid liquid that holds everything together as your blood or as your lymph liquid or as the water in your body, both needing the main component, which is oxygen. So now let's imagine that if your cells are lacking this watery substance, is lacking this, or let me say this water element or this oxygenated element. This is where you start to find something called anemia. Which anemia, just like sickle cell, right? Sickle cell anemia, is a lack of oxygen to the cells. It's a lack of oxygen to the cells. So now we see we need oxygen, we need potassium, and we need calcium, right? Now we have the mitochondria. The mitochondria is an organelle in which energy is extracted from food during oxygenated metabolism. Here we go again. Oxygenated metabolism. So your mitochondria plays as your ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. This is what helps yield and produce energy based upon the food that you need. So now we need oxidative food. Here we go again. We need oxidative food. And if we need oxidative food, that means we need food that holds water content. And because we are very optimum people, we have very optimum melanin, and we have a very high optimum functionality as a people, being the original people, that would mean, based upon our indigenous geographical location, we should look for the most oxidative food, the most water content food, because based upon that, that is what helps bring homeostasis. That's what brings homeostasis. You see that? So we see that the mitochondria, in order for it to function properly, it needs food so it can extract food to help yield ATP, again, which is adenosine triphosphate, which yields energy. Energy is what? Frequency. Frequency is what? Vibration. Vibration is what? Charges. So your mitochondria is testifying that you need food that has oxidative charges that would energize or oxygenate, no different than if you get tired. You need water, or you need a water content, maybe like juice, to yield what? Energy. Or you need what you would call electrolytes. Electrolytes. The root word of electrolytes is electricity. You need energy. You need food that yields energy. And not only food that yields energy, this energized food must contain a high volume of oxygen, because it needs oxidative to help metabolize even the food that's within the body, because you need the metabolic, you need to go through your metabolic process, which we go to the next one, which is your secretory vesicle. Which is your secretory vesicle? Your secretory vesicle is fusing with the plasma membrane, which we'll go into that too. The plasma membrane. So it actually attaches, it circumferences with what we would call really the skin. Just like you got the skin mucosal membrane, you have what you call plasma membrane, which plays as the skin or the protection, the layer of protection for the cell. So your secretory vesicle is attached to this plasma membrane. So what it does is help release a material to be secreted from the cell. What does that sound like, y'all? What does that sound like? That sounds like your cell is defecating. That sounds like your cell is literally urinating. See? So just like you poop, just like you need energy, just like you need to metabolize, your cell does too. Just like you have fluid within your cell by way of blood and your lymph fluid and water, your cells do too. Just like you have a skeletal structure, your cells do too. You see that? Just like you have a thyroid, which also helps with energy. An adrenal gland that also helps with energy. A parathyroid, pineal gland that helps synthesize serotonin and melatonin, which is nothing but hormonal energy, right? You also have a mitochondria that yields energy to help function the cells. And just like you defecate and urinate, you have a secretory vesicle that also defecates and urinates the metabolic waste based upon the mitochondria and based upon the lysosome, which we'll go to next, right? Based upon the lysosome, because when you really look at it, your mitochondria and your Golgi complex really almost plays as a pancreas. We'll get further into that, right? We'll get further into that because just like in the body, you have your pancreas helps yield ATP, adenosine triphosphate, by way of an enzymic reaction, which is called chyme. This chyme actually helps break down the food, and it's not looking for calories. It's looking for main elemental structures that help yield energy to your cells, and your blood is what helps carry, or what we're going to say, feed the cells. You see that? So it's not looking for 12,000 of one mineral, or it's looking for the main minerals. And we know one of the main minerals already is oxygen, or what we're going to call iron phosphate, because iron phosphate is the main mineral that carries the oxygen to the cells. So now we're dealing with iron phosphate. We went through the skeletal structure, the cytoskeleton, so we know we need potassium. We know we need calcium. So we need food that's in the elemental compartment of iron phosphate, potassium, and calcium that yields the highest form of these things so that it can give me the highest form of energy to my cells. We'll get into all that, right? So just the secretory vesicles where your cell pretty much defecate and urinate. But this is the part where you have to understand. This is why you have to understand your cell. You have to understand yourself, because based upon how you understand yourself will be based upon how you treat yourself. So think of your cells as a baby, right? For most of y'all who watch this, you probably have children. Your child poop like you. He urinate like you. He eats like you. They drink like you, right? But the major difference, especially when they're in their infancy, right? The major difference between you and that baby is you're able to do for thyself and care for thyself, but the baby is not. Well, guess what? Your cells play the same role as a baby. They do the same thing. They urinate, they defecate, they multiply just like you, They yield energy like you, they thirsty just like you, they hungry just like you. But the main difference between you on a macrocosmic level and them on a microcosmic level is they are not able to change themselves or wipe themselves or clean themselves or defecate and urinate on themselves properly, where they're able to wipe away any waste from the food that you ate. So just like a baby, when you look at a baby, you could be eating the best food in the world. You can be eating the most alkaline, plant-based food in the world. But just like you, especially if you went 20, 30 years, 10 years of eating bad, especially as a mother, my mothers need to pay attention to this because y'all play a major role in that baby's health as soon as it come out the womb. Because whatever you eat, that baby eats. Whatever you were eating when that baby was in the womb, that baby was eating as well. Whatever you was eating prior to that baby in there, your baby is the benefactor of that. So your internal environment plays a major role for that baby as it's going through its embryonic processing of being born. So just like a baby, right? You leave a diaper on a baby too long after they defecate or they urinate. I don't care how well their diet is, because you're dealing with metabolic waste. You're dealing with metabolized waste. You're dealing with a filtration trying to eliminate. So you leave that on there too long, what's going to happen? What will happen? The baby will have something called a baby rash. Well, how did the baby get a rash? You know, all you're doing is feeding this baby fruit, vegetables, right? The most healthiest things, but yet this baby has a rash. Why? Why? One, because we don't understand even the science of food, because you have some food that yield an acid ash, and you have some food that yields an alkaline ash. But nonetheless, it still has to go through a processing. It still has to go through a metabolic waste process of eliminating all the waste that it did not need. So when it's going through its waste process, especially like us, we have something called hydrochloric acid that helps break down that food. You don't think the residue of that hydrochloric acid is in that metabolic waste that's left? Absolutely. So if that being the case, right, the reason that baby had a rash is because a lot of times you left the diaper on too long. And there's nothing but acidic metabolic waste that's sitting at the bottom of that baby's butt. So it's what? Burning. So that shows you that there's acid or metabolic waste in the poop and in the urine, no matter the diet. And if you leave it on there too long, it's going to cause an acid reaction called a rash or a burn. And it will irritate the skin and what we're going to call the skin mucosa membrane. So your cells play the same exact posture as a baby do. It will eat, it will drink, it will defecate and urinate. But you have something in your body called the lymphatic system. This lymphatic system sends out something called lymph nodes. And even these lymph nodes have acid liquid in it that is able to break down and remove, like you wiping a baby's butt, it is able to remove the waste off that cellular baby, off that cellular baby. And then what it does, it puts it through a filtration system by way of your lymphatic system, or by way of your kidney filtration system, where you're able to urinate and defecate and secrete out these metabolic waste that your body is not using. But now, imagine your lymphatic system down. Imagine those lymph nodes are in dysfunction and they're sterilized due to the food that you're not able to break down, mitochondria, pancreas, that you're not able to break down because your body is not proportional enough, or is not structured enough to break that food down. So imagine it trying to break that food down, stressing the organs out, and then yielding an acid reaction. And your body's starting to yield too much acid, and it breaks down the lymphatic system where it's sterilized and not being able to function. Guess what? That means by default, your cells are not going to be able to be properly wiped. They're not going to be able to be properly cleansed and clean. Therefore, just like that baby, right? Just like that baby, if the waste is left on that baby's bottom too long and it creates an acidic ash or acidic rash, guess what? There also is an acidic rash or acidic reaction to the metabolic waste of your cells sitting on top of the cell due to the lymph nodes not working properly and able to remove that waste. So now, if you leave that acid on too long, right? If you leave that metabolic waste on there too long, guess what will start to happen? You will start to build up an acidic environment, And guess what that acidic environment is called? Inflammation. And when inflammation starts to set, your body will alert the skin mucosa or the mucosal membrane, and it will secrete this mucus, which most people think mucus is bad, and it's not. If it's bad, that means God is wrong because he created you with a mucosal membrane. And if you test the mucosal membrane on a pH scale, it will actually test more alkaline than acidic. So how can mucus be bad for you when it's there to assist you? Why? Because it secretes itself, this thick little liquid, it secretes itself to actually bind up waste that you're not able to properly remove. It secretes itself to be able to remove waste, toxins, heavy metal, plaque that you're not able to remove. It will bind it up and it will cause you to have a runny nose. It will cause you to go through what you call a healing crisis and start to secrete mucus, whether that be out the nose, whether that be out the mouth, whether that be out the eyes, and sometimes even the ears. If you're not able to properly eliminate on an intracellular level and a macro level. And it's there to bind up the waste that you're not able to properly remove. So now when you look at it from that science, when you look at it from that understanding, is mucus really bad for you? Or is it that you're abusing the mucosal membrane and causing it to overwork itself? And because you're not properly eliminating, it will start to stiffen up like a wall. And they will create a lack of oxygen flow. Here we go again. A lack of oxygen flow. So when we really get down to this on a microcellular level, a lot of us are dealing with the lack of oxygen flow through the body because due to an acidic environment that yielded inflammation, and we have abused the mucosal membrane, and it's creating wall structures that we're not able to pierce and break due to how we're eating. Because our food is what secretes the proper hormones. Our food is what secretes the energy that we need. Our food will determine how much sleep we get, or the amount of serotonin we're able to produce. You see that? Your food plays a major role on your health. Your food plays a major role on your hormonal balance. Your food plays a major role even on your perspective and reality of life. Because based upon the culture comes with a food and a diet. And based upon the diet, it will tell you if you're healthy or not. And based upon your health will determine how you view life. Think about it. If you have an acidic mind, acidic thoughts, eating acidic food, a lot of times you're going to find people who have an acidic external environment. This is called homeostasis. It's called having balance. It's called having balance. And it's balance in all things. See, there's actually no such thing as being 100% alkaline, because by default of the structure of your body, you're not all the way alkaline. You have something called DNA, ribonucleic acid. Your stomach produces something called hydrochloric acid. See that? So by default, you can't be all the way alkaline because you go through a lot of fermentation in the body. So let's keep going. So we went over the lysosome. Your lysosome is what helps break down the macromolecules and digest worn out cell components. So your lysosome pretty much plays as your digestive system, right? It plays almost a role of pancreas. It plays almost a role of your descending and ascending colon, right? It plays a role in a lot of different things when it comes to digesting the food and help breaking down that food. And it says digest worn out cell components, right? So this just like your pancreas secretes something called chyme, which is an enzymatic reaction. It helps break down that food, and it pretty much takes what it needs, and everything else will start to go through its metabolic processing by way of the digestive system. Again, you have your Golgi complex. Your Golgi complex collects, packages, and distributes molecules manufactured in the cells, right? So just like your blood helps distribute elemental minerals to your cells, or collects it or packages it, just like a pancreas would. It helps distribute. So you see, it's the same. You see the same organ. You see the same type of organelle structures going on within the body. Next, again, we talk about the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is the lipid bilayer in which proteins are embedded. Again, just like you have skin, you have layers of skin, which deals with the nervous system, deals with tissues and deals with the mucosal membrane within the skin that helps protect the internal organ. It's one of your it's really your first line of defense from the external environment. Well, guess what? Your plasma membrane plays at that same function. It plays as an external defense for your intracellular organelles. Then you have your periexome. You have your periexome, vesicles that contain enzymes that carry out particular reactions, such as detoxifying potential harmful molecules. So your periexome actually plays like your lymphatic system. It's what helps go around and actually detoxifies the cells. See, you see that just like you have a lymphatic system that plays as your waste management, that goes around cleaning out the cells, making sure the blood keeps its integrity, just like the liver and gallbladder, or just like the lungs, is also another defense by your respiratory system by eliminating by way of carbon dioxide, helping breathe in and out any toxin that you may have. See, your peroxisome plays as your lymphatic system as well, making sure that the cell keeps its integrity. So there is no possible way that the cell itself is a destructive mechanism that don't know how to function. It is only by way of what we eat that we will see, or it's only by way of how we keep for the cell, the macro environment. It's for us the micro environment, but for the cells, the macro environment. Based upon how we keep the cellular macro environment will determine how integral the cell stays. So that's on us, right? We got to look at these 150 trillion cells as 150 trillion children that we have to take care of, or 150 trillion babies that we got to take care of. So you see that it's a communal thing that we're dealing with. And you can actually learn more by understanding your cells on how to understand yourself. And to understand yourself means you understand your community. Because based upon how you treat yourself, just like the Bible said, the two greatest commandments is what? The first one is love the Most High with all your heart, mind, and soul. The second greatest commandment is to love your brother, love your sister as you love yourself. Well, if you're abusing yourself, if you stressing yourself out, if you're not loving yourself enough, if you always making wrong decisions, if you're toxic in mind and your decision making, you will put that on other people. You will put that on other people. So to know if you look at your 150 trillion cells as a village, as a community, that you being the chief in charge of this community have the accountability and responsibility to take care of these 150 trillion villages or these 150 trillion souls within this village, you will start to treat people how you treat yourselves. You will start to treat your parents how you treat yourselves. You will start to treat your brother and sister how you treat yourself, because now you have an understanding that I'm responsible for 150 trillion me's that have organs like me, that urinate like me, that think like me, that sleep like me, that defecate like me, that urinate like me, that literally have sex like me and multiply like me. I'm responsible for this cellular communal village. And I'm responsible to make sure they all eat properly. I'm responsible to make sure they all get enough rest. I'm responsible to make sure that they're getting the energy that they need so that they can work at their fullest potential, that they can prosper and be at their fullest potential, working in a balanced homeostasis environment. If you take that same mentality towards yourselves, I guarantee you will see a difference on how you view your brother. You will see a difference on how you view your sister. You will see a difference on how you view your community, because that same aspect or perspective of life that you have treated this 150 trillion cells, you will do the same to your brother and sister, because you have now exemplified loving thyself by how you treating and loving yourselves. And based upon how you love yourselves, you will show that same exact love to your brother and sister. Facts. Facts. We can learn a lot about communal living and communal building by how we treat ourselves. We can learn a lot about rites of passage by how we treat ourselves. Because just like you need certain things to survive, or I'm not going to say survive, we've been surviving long enough. Just like you need certain elemental things to flourish, You need a certain environment to flourish. You need a certain environment to think straight. You need a certain environment to make sound decisions. You need a certain environment to even view a partner in a certain way. You need a certain environment to educate yourself a proper way. You have to create the same certain environment for yourselves, because just as you become a benefit to them, they become a benefit to you. I see a lot of people talking about, if you take care of the land will take care of you. Well, guess what? You are the land first, because you are made up of that land. You are made up of the same soil content of that land. So if you learn how to yield or cultivate the land, you surely need to know how to cultivate yourself. You surely need to know how to cultivate yourself. Now I'm talking about farmers. I'm seeing a lot of unhealthy farmers, which that don't make sense to me. You're a farmer growing your own food, and yet you're still unhealthy, which means we still don't even know the biochemistry, not only of our external soil, but even our internal soil. We still don't know the proper education of the chemistry of our food. Huh? Why do we take beets? It helps a man's prostate, helps with circulation and blood flow. Why do we eat watermelon? Because it's the what's one outside of cucumbers, it's the highest form of water content. It's the highest form of H3O2. A lot of water in watermelon, which means that by default that would be the best food for my what, y'all? My cells, because it gives me an oxidative metabolic processing. It helps me oxygenate my cells, because my cells need oxygen. My cells need iron phosphate. You see that? If you know your cells, you would know what to eat. If you know your cells, you would know what not to eat. Let's keep going. The ribosomes, right? The ribosome is a small complex of RNA and protein that are the sites of protein synthesis. So ribosomes, just like your actual external RNA, right? What is the RNA? Ribonucleic acid. It plays almost as the cameraman, or we can even say the scribe. It plays as a scribe to the DNA. It literally writes down all the information and instructions of that DNA. It writes down the memory of that DNA. Huh? It writes down the ancient scrolls of that DNA. And so when that DNA becomes damaged or old, the RNA comes into place to help rebuild and help regenerate that DNA. So it can keep its integrity, and a line of information can continue. I'm telling y'all, rites of passage, community living, we'll understand a lot about cells, and we'll understand a lot about community structure based upon how we understand ourselves. Next one is the nucleus. The nucleus plays as the command center, which means your cells have a brain. Your cells have a brain. It has a command center. Huh? That means it has emotions. That means it has thoughts. Huh? That means it thinks, which means just like you need certain food for thought. Huh? You need food for thought. Your cells also need food for proper thought and thinking as well, and functionality. Huh? The nucleus, sites where ribosomes are produced. So this helps actually help produce the RNA. The nuclear envelope is a double membrane between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. So the nuclear envelope plays as your DNA of that cell, plays as your DNA of that cell. So this is pretty much the function overall of your cells. So we clearly broke down. If it has a skeletal structure, it needs calcium, potassium. We see that the mitochondria, right, needs food that has oxygen that helps during the oxidative metabolism, which means your mitochondria yields ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which plays like as a pancreas, right? So it needs oxidative foods. Huh? What's the highest form of oxidative foods? Your fruit. Your fruit. Then it goes down to your vegetables. Your fruit holds the highest form of oxygen, right? We always say we need H2O, but the highest form of water content is H3O2. H3O2 can only be found in your fruits. So if you really want to oxygenate, you really want to cool your cells down when it's going through inflammation, when it's going through arthritis, when it's going through diabetes, when it's going through high blood pressure, which is all due to an inflamed acidic environment, and you want to bring a coolant or water content to cool it down. If you have a burning house, you want to put the fire out, You need the highest form of water content, which is H3O2, which is your fruits. Let's keep going. So let's get down to what the mineral composition of the cell. A cell is made up of electrons, electrons, which is negative charge, protons, positive charge, neutrons, which helps balance out both electrons and protons. So this is about balance, 2 or 3 witnesses, right? So these are charges, just like you have a phone that has energy, it has a battery in it. But overall, after time, it's going to need a charge. Just like you have a laptop that has charge, it has a battery in it. But after time, so it can yield more energy, it's going to need more charges. Well, guess what? Your electrons, protons, and neutrons that make up your cells also need a recharge. Also need electrolytes, electricity, frequency, vibration, proper hertz, right? Well, let's see what are those mineralized charges that help recharge your electrons, protons, and neutrons. A cell's mineralized composition is made up of carbon. So we need food that's high in carbon. Obviously, carbon is what, y'all? Melanin. Melanin is dealing with color, not just my color, but melanin is color, period. So that means we need the highest colored food. What's the highest colored food? You got your peppers, you got your watermelon, your mangoes, your soursop, your blueberries, your blackberries, your goji berries, your elderberries. You have your pomegranates. You have your oranges. These are very colorful foods that are full of carbon, or what we're going to call melanin. So now we really actually identifying the foods that we need. If my cell mineralized composition is made up of one of the components is carbon, I need food with a lot of carbon or melanin. Well, the melanin is going to show on the outside. So you need colorful or carbonated foods. Next one is iron phosphate, or we're going to call oxygen. Remember, we're looking for H2O or H3O2. Well, the highest form of H2O or H3O2 is fruits. Water content, that's high in water content. You're not going to find high water content in meat. Let's be honest. You're not going to find high water content in rice. You're not going to find high water content in bread. You're not going to find high water content in cheese. The highest form of water content is in your fruits. Then you got the nitrogen, right? You got phosphorus, calcium, and hydrogen. So the main composition of minerals that your cells is made up of that it needs is nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, and hydrogen. Cells are powered by nothing but vibratory energy. This is not dealing with no type of calories. This is not dealing with what they call the so-called protein, what we want to call the protein myth, which really you don't need complex proteins. Most complex proteins lack oxygen and they lack water content. You need something called simple amino acid structures because you have something called amino acids, what we're going to call non-essential amino acids that your body naturally reproduce, right? But then there's something called essential amino acids that you need to help with this recharge. You see that? Amino acids. So again, you can't be all the way alkaline when you need amino acids. You need amino acids because these amino acids help structure pretty much the hands, or what you want to call the legs, or the joints of the DNA. When you start to break down the DNA structure, right, those chromosomes, we start to break them down. They have joints that connect all these different mineralized elements that make up you, that make up the information, the ancient information that you hold. Well, you need essential amino acids to actually keep the integrity of that DNA. So see, your DNA also plays a major role. You need certain foods to make sure that DNA, the information, is being able to properly be propagated and passed down to the next generation. So you're going to need certain foods to help sustain that ancestral integrity so it can get passed down to the next generation. So a lot of us are going through what you call epigenetic inheritance. We have inherited cellular trauma from our ancestors. We've inherited dysfunctional thyroids. We've inherited dysfunctional blood. Some people even inherit what you call sexually transmitted disease. I like to call it slave transmitted disease because we still have the slave mentality. We still have the slave mentality. So you'll see 6 month-year-old babies, 8 month-year-old babies that come out with herpes. So that tells you that by way of the blood, by way of what you call the placenta, huh? Because remember, the life is in the blood. Your DNA is in the blood. So by way of the informal DNA that we carry, we pass on certain information, character traits, and personalities that we just think come out of nowhere. I guarantee you start studying your bloodline, you'll see you're very close to a lot of your relatives that you never knew. And you act like them. You never knew that. You make the same decisions as them. You have the same thought process as them. You eat the same diet as them that you never met. Because you have inherited the epigenetic way of life. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing based upon your ancestral pedigree. And this is why, for this generation, it's very important for us to learn how to regenerate. It's very imperative for us to learn how to heal properly. Because based upon what decisions we make by our mouth, right? Because remember, what? Life and death is in the power of what? The tongue. But that's also not only what you spit out, but that's also what you put in. You could be eating death, or you could be eating life. You could be speaking death, or you could be speaking life. You could be drinking death, or you could be drinking life. All that is determined, and it can affect your bloodline down the line, especially when you had children yet, especially men. You have something called semen. Your semen carries your soul. It carries you. It carries your spirit. So that's why it's very imperative, even down to the soil you plant that seed in, right? So y'all see how deep this is? We're dealing with pure science. This is not no thing we got to get so complex. It's 1 + 1 is 2. Huh? Simple amino acid structures. Huh? I need essential minerals. Amino acid minerals, right? All this plays a major part. So we'll say that for the next time. But let me get back out of this. So I'm gonna leave y'all with this. We see that the main mineral, the main component that the cells need is oxygen. It's your duty to research what foods hold the highest form of oxygen, water content. Because clearly I need some water content that holds the highest form of oxygen. It's your duty to find that out. We need potassium. We need carbon. We need iron phosphate. We need phosphorus. We need hydrogen. You should go research what's the highest form, what foods hold the highest content of these minerals. And based upon what you research, that is what you need to eat. I can tell you off the rip, you're going to find the highest content of those minerals in your fruits, vegetables, and your nuts. Your nuts hold high content of omega-3s and fatty acids for those who like to build muscle. Avocados, right? Alfalfa sprouts, alfalfa seed, or a leaf, You need to cleanse the blood. Your berries help cleanse and oxygenate. They're antioxidants. They help oxygenate the blood. You need to hydrate the cells. The highest content of hydration or oxygen, seeing that your cells need oxygen by way of iron phosphate to breathe and oxygenate and cleanse and yield energy, is your fruits, specifically your melons. Huh? You also have something called a perizome, which obviously helps detoxify. So if you need elements to help detoxify, you have your astringent fruits, your pineapples, your pomegranates, your grapefruit, your oranges, your citrus fruit. Those help. Those help purge. See, we need to being the highest form of humanity, right? We are the highest form of humanity. This is beyond. We're the original people. Being the highest form of humanity, we need the highest electrical diet, seeing that we are electrical carbonated people. Huh? We need we need the most electrical environment for us to flourish. And so it's not just about food, but even your external environment should be reflective of that which is internal. So if I have a vibratory, high functioning homeostatic diet, I need a high level homeostatic external environment so that I can even my reality, my mental health can be proper. Because I've seen people, they can be on this diet, they can be on a whole cleanse, but their external environment played a major factor on how they cleansed and how well they did it. So your external environment plays a major factor just as much as your internal environment. So, but we had to deal with the internal first to cleanse that so we can start changing our perspective of life to change our external. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope y'all got something from that. I hope y'all took a lot of notes. We will be back next week and going over different parts of the body and how they function so we can really just change the narrative on what true health and wealth is. So with that being said, again, my name is Mikael Ben-Or of the Authentic Experience. This is Mike Mondays, and we will be back every Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, giving you all the culturally activated divine education that we can based upon our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. With that, I say, may the Most High bless you all, may keep you all, may cause His face to shine upon you all. I say peace, love, balance, prosperity, and life. I say shalom, shalom.